Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, Brazil and China have come to an agreement to increase trade and to conduct trade in Chinese yuan, bypassing the dollar, which means that they will not have to buy dollars to conduct trade with one another. Why does this concern you? Because Brazil, whatever you might think of Brazil, Brazil is pretty doggone big. And Brazil is the fifth largest country in the world. And Brazil actually is larger than the continental United States. Now, they've got a lower population, but, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Brazil is the eighth largest oil producing country in the world, and also the eighth largest oil consumer. They have the largest offshore oil reserves, and the U.S. Trade Administration expects that Brazil will account for 50% of offshore oil production by 2040. That's kind of big. China looks a lot further out, many more years out than the United States and Europe does. Economically and politically, diplomatically. Now, China has been Brazil's largest trading partner since 2009. They are the fifth, hold on a second. All right, so China accounts for 1/5 of all Brazilian imports, and China accounts for 1/3 of all Brazilian exports. In addition to oil, Brazil is a major agricultural producer, and China, after all of the tensions with the United States, has fallen. They have not met the agreement that Trump made with them on agricultural purchases, but they increased their purchase of soybeans from Brazil. I don't see why China would want to keep on, purchasing more from the United States with all of the tensions that the United States is leveling at China, accusations and increased military presence in the South and East China Sea. Why would they? Why would they want to do that? Help us pay for the war that we're our government is apparently intending to wage against China? That would make no sense, would it? So China is also Brazil's largest external investor. So this is a big turnaround from when Bolsonaro was the president of Brazil not too long ago, who managed to get into office with assistance from the CIA. And face it, Bolsonaro was a fascist right-wing dictator. He is responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of indigenous people and the displacement of tens of thousands more, tearing up the Amazon rainforest to plow it under, to build more farms, etc. So, and Lula is more left-wing. Yes, there are lots of criticisms you can level at him, but there's a reason that he was elected over Bolsonaro. Why do you think? If you're killing your own people and displacing your own people for the sake of capitalists, then why would you want him to remain in office? So this is, another indication of the decline of the U.S. dollar. If they are conducting trade in yuan, well, I've already done other videos talking about how Saudi Arabia and China are doing trade in yuan, Syria, Iraq, Iran, all of these countries are conducting trade in yuan, which means less and less of the dollar is being used for international trade. So, what does that mean? That means that the dollar becomes devalued against other currencies, and we will have to compete. This is a multipolar world. It means that we are going to have to compete on trade. Militarism won't do it. All militarism does is reduce production and increase how much your country, our country, is paying for the military-industrial complex. And Biden already asked for more money next year for the military for, so it's getting closer and closer to $1 trillion for the Pentagon budget. The U.S. government likes to talk about democracy and free trade and all of this. Then let other countries and sovereignty, let these other countries make their own decisions. That would be democracy and free trade and sovereignty. Right? Russia and China are not telling other countries, no, you can't do trade with the United States. And by the way, I'll keep bringing this up, that Brazil is part of the BRICS alliance. In fact, B stands for Brazil. BRICS, B, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So these countries are making more and more diplomatic trade agreements with one another, increasing trade, turning away from the dollar. The more the dollar declines in value, which the dollar has lost 97% of its value in the last century. You think a century ago you could buy a loaf of bread for, 3 to 5 cents. And now, how much are you paying for a loaf of bread? It's over $1. Even in Walmart, the least expensive places are charging over $1 for a loaf of bread. Well, that's the value of your dollar declining. So, consumer, that is purchasing power. You are losing purchasing power more and more by the day. And yet we are paying more and more for weapons and increasing our military aggression toward other countries. Because, why? Because they just don't want to be our vassal states, our servants. They don't want to be subservient to us. They want their own sovereignty. They want to make decisions for themselves. All of this is also happening as the U.S. banking system, at least small and regional banks, are showing more and more signs of imminent collapse. Interesting thing is that in a financial journal, I saw a statement not long ago that this could be an indication that we have too many banks. In other words, they're in favor of consolidating more and more of the banking system into the largest too big to fail banks. Well, when the too big to fail banks fail, then what's going to happen is that you and I are going to be bailing them out again. How are we going to bail them out? By printing more money. The more money that gets printed as the dollar declines in value against other currencies is that your dollar buys less and less. And there's, it impacts employment and create more and more layoffs and on and on and on. But we can't sit down and have diplomatic talks without imposing threats on other countries. So is Brazil going to be the next country on the list for the United States to start bombing, destroying, and invading? How many countries are we going to not bomb and destroy, at least economically? Look what we've already done to Europe. Of course, Europe was completely complicit in their own, condition at this point, but it was with us leading the charge. So, more and more countries are turning away from the dollar for international trade. Just remember that point, and it will impact you at some point. No matter how much we keep on printing, it's not going to change this situation, these facts. Share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day.